They put a lot of time and effort into making that happen, and it was a really hard song to do. Like, I can't say those words that fast. Definitely couldn't sing them that fast. So my props to Al. That's pretty impressive. A couple quick things, though. If you haven't, like I said before, welcome to RCC. Welcome to Saturday night service here. We're in the middle of a series right now we're calling Living the Dream, and we're looking at maybe the way that we might think about living the dream and also the ways that God would have us live the dream and what that all looks like. And what I really loved about that video is, well, first instance, if you don't know this, those are people from our church, just kind of filmed over the past couple of weeks, and I think it was awesome. It was just some really cool imagery, and what I also like about that is I really wish I could have, like, some soundtrack music to my life, because, like, everything would feel like that then, because I don't know, it was really cool. It was beautiful and fun, and made just these simple moments feel really special. My favorite part about the whole little thing was there's this moment when somebody was crying, like mom was holding her because of the bike thing. Maybe she fell, I don't know. But I thought that was like gold, right? Because whenever the kids are like, they fall and then they run to you and you hold on to them, that's like the dream. And maybe she wasn't like 2, she was maybe a little bit older. Like, I want that. Like, I want my kids when they're like 10 to still run to me. I think that'd be pretty sweet. But it's really nice. I felt like it's a really fun picture. But did you notice something? You notice something different than that versus maybe other pictures of what you might think living the dream would be like? There's nothing special about it, right? Fixing cars, going on bike rides, working on the farm. There's no theme park. There's no expensive toys. It's just real stuff. I like that. I think that's really good stuff. Tonight, we're talking about living the dream, but we're talking about it in maybe a different way than we've been talking about it the past few weeks. Past few weeks, we've been talking about getting a dream, and then having that dream that we really care about, and then actually living it, and not just saying we're going to, but actually doing something about it. And then even talking about having a hunger for this life that God has for us, and wanting it and desiring it. This week, we're going to kind of take a little bit of a left turn to have a little slightly different look on it or take on it. We're going to talk about having the abundant life. Because a dream life is a life that's filled with abundance, with this good stuff. For me, when I think about what that would be like, of living an abundant life or having a dream, I actually think of this picture. Right there. This happened a couple of weeks ago. These are my 2 sons, Ramsey on the right and Archer on the left. And that happened on a family hike through the woods. And this moment never happens, okay? Like, all I had to say was, hey, guys, put your arms around each other for a picture. And they did it. It blew my mind. It was awesome. I was like living the abundant life for 3 minutes, and it was so cool. We snapped a picture and held on to it there. It was pretty cool. But I love it because that's one of our favorite things to do as a family. We love to go hiking and be around some stuff. And what's great about that is you get to see it with their eyes. Like, you get out there in the woods. South Woods is right over here. If you go that direction, you're going to end up in South Woods here in Ripon. So it's really close. You hike in, and it's like you're in a different world. Like, all the big trees, some water flowing through it. And one of the times that I went hiking with Ramsey, when we did that, he would say, like, every ravine was like, oh, that's the Grand Canyon. And like, his eyes were so big, and he thought it was so cool. And there are like 7 Grand Canyons out there. It was awesome. And like, the trees are giant. You could sit and look at the water flow for hours. One time we did that, and it was 36 degrees or something like that. And our youngest son decided to slip off the bridge and fall in a snowsuit. And then we ran out and got home. So that was really fun. I don't know if I was supposed to say that happened or not, but it did. But those are some of the best moments, aren't they? There's a quality to them that's so thick in the air when you're there, and it's hard to quite put your finger on it. Like, to really understand why those moments are so good. But I think they're so good, and there's a specialness to them, and this has everything to do with living the abundant life that Jesus has for us. And that might sound weird, but hang with me. As we've been going through this series, one of the risks that I feel like we've been taking with naming it Living the Dream is it's possible to seem like we always need more, like we always need to do something further, like there's this elusive dream out there that you have to work harder for, neglect more for, and neglect what you already have for. Like there's this elusive better life out there that's it's worth figuring it out, worth whatever for. You just haven't figured it out yet. There's a risk there because as one of the people in the Bible who is actually considered one of the wisest men of all time, a guy named Solomon he says this in Ecclesiastes 1:2, it says, "Everything is meaningless," says the teacher, "completely meaningless." You guys came here tonight for a pep talk, right? Like, that's exciting things to hear. Motivation tonight and meaningless. He's talking about trying to find happiness. If you read through the book of Ecclesiastes, it's all about what he does in order to find the things that matter in life. And this guy tries a lot. I mean, he holds nothing back. It says this in Ecclesiastes 2:9-11. He says, "So I became greater than all who had lived in Jerusalem before me, and my wisdom never failed me. Anything I wanted, I would take. I denied myself no pleasure. I even found great pleasure in hard work, a reward for all my labors. But as I looked at everything I had worked so hard to accomplish, it was all so meaningless, like chasing the wind. There was nothing really worthwhile anywhere." Now, as you read that, one of the things you need to know about that statement is there's a bit of this fancy word called hyperbole in there. It's like this really exaggerated statement. He's making this extreme statement to make a point. He's making it so extremely because it's a really important point to get. And the point is this: all of us are really great at getting bent out of shape about things that hardly matter. We're really good at it. We get all worried and nervous about things that barely even matter. The worry I have with this series is people think that we have to do some sort of thing to make life good enough. We should have dreams from God. We should have those dreams. It means we're following Jesus and going where he wants us to go and working for it, and all those things are really good, but that's not the whole point. If God's given you a dream, you have to get after it. But if you're in the midst of your dream right now, if you started it, if you're in the middle of it, your family life, if there's a job that you're searching after, if you're taking care of people in your life, if you're getting through school, if you're being kind to certain people and serving people, if that's your dream, then you don't necessarily have to look for more. You may already be living it. You just have to dig into what you've got. You just have to dig into it. An abundant life, it doesn't mean a busier life. It doesn't mean a more important life. It doesn't mean a life that looks entirely different than the one you're living right now. If we can't cherish and dig into what we've already got, why would we ever expect adding more to our life to make us feel more fulfilled? If that's the case, if it's not trying to find all the new things or go after all the new dreams, which those are good things at times, and sometimes you have to make that choice and go after it. But if that's not everything all the time that you should always be going after, what does this abundant life actually look like today? What's the difference this week? What's different about this abundant life? I think we can get at the difference with one very particular question, a question that all of us can ask ourselves. It's this: what makes up your best memories? What makes up your best memories? Try and remember them, have them in your head, right? You've got those couple things that you're thinking about, you're feeling. What makes you smile? What fills you with those good feelings as you're thinking about them? Got them? Yeah? There's a memory or two in there? All right, now let's color those memories a little bit. Let's give them some flavor. What were you doing? What were you doing? Who were you with? What was making them happen? What made them so good? Maybe it's a dinner with family or friends where your cheeks hurt from smiling and your stomach ached because you're laughing so hard and you couldn't hold it back, and you laughed so hard that tears literally forced themselves out of your eyes and you're just beside yourself. Maybe it was the first time you slipped "I love you" to that special someone. Maybe it was the night you said caution to the wind. You said, I'm just going to go off and we're going to do this fun thing. We're not going to worry about all the details. We're just going to have some fun. And you had a little bit of spontaneous fun that one night, and it was awesome. Maybe it was watching your kids and they overcome something that you've been coaching them on. Like they're struggling with this, and you coach them and you see them get over that hump, and it blows your mind. Like, oh, they did it. It was so good. So good. Maybe it was just recently. Maybe all those other things were years ago, but just recently you walked outside in the evening and you saw the sunset, and then the stars came out, and you took this very quick moment and you realized, wow, look at this world, look at this thing that God created. Whew, it's amazing. For me, I have a few memories that really rise to the surface. One of them being growing up, you'd be working out in the field with the family. And so you'd be out there and you'd be working hard, and it'd be getting to nighttime, and you start to smell the dust and the water. And I've got a picture coming up here of those are my boys out there, but you'd be out in the field like this, and you'd have the sprinkler system on, and you'd have that kind of melding with the dust and the mud and all that kind of stuff, and there's a smell. And something about that smell is just this memory for me. Like all the good nights that you had working hard to get things done, and you'd finish and you have this sense of accomplishment. That's a great memory for me. I remember like a day hike with my wife Meg. We went up north. It wasn't a super far drive, but we went out to Grand Marais, Michigan on the UP and went for this hike. And for some reason that day was amazing. The day before, we had gone hiking and gotten poured on like it was a shower, crazy onslaught of water, and then we came running back, and then it was like crazy sunny and hot, and it went from pouring to hot in like 3 seconds, and literally like there was some smells and all that crazy stuff. But the next day, it was awesome. It was so fun. It was so great. I also remember like a picnic a little while ago with our boys where it was really fun, but one of them ate more sand than sandwiches, and I can remember that. And I'm sure you guys have had those moments too, right? You've had those moments. Our best memories are not hardly ever found where we think we'll find them. Sometimes they're in the work. Sometimes they're in the middle, in the in-between moments. Sometimes they're so spontaneous that you couldn't have planned them if you tried. You see, a lot of us have been duped. We've been duped into thinking that we're missing out on something that we shouldn't be happy yet because we don't have it yet. And so that thing's still out there that we don't have, and so we can't be happy yet. We've been duped by that. So many of us have this serious case of FOMO. My wife taught me that phrase, FOMO, fear of missing out, right? We have this fear. It's this real thing. Like there's this thing out there that we don't have, and we see people having fun, and we see it on social media, and they're all together, and we want that, and we fear missing out. It actually is a thing that entire commercials are based on. If you don't believe me, check this out.
They say Californians are living the dream.
But things aren't all that glamorous.
Nope. We have our struggles.
It's no cakewalk.
A dream? This?
There's just no magic.
Same old, same old.
The sun rises every morning.
And sets every night.
Still think Californians are living the dream?
Come see for yourself. I mean, seriously.
Start your trip at visitcalifornia.com.au.
Come see for yourself, right? Like we want to go out there and have fun. It looks really nice. It looks warm. There's like long tables on entire beaches. That'd be pretty cool. And so like there's this thing that they sell on it. And so instead of just wondering as a church, we thought we'd actually give you a chance to see for yourself. So because of a particular person's extra generosity and wanting to have some fun with Living the Dream series to make it possible, we're actually going to be giving away a special gift this series, a trip to California. We're seriously doing that because it's fun and because someone made it possible and because it's a chance to have some fun with Living the Dream. So if you're interested in doing that, I think you have to be 18 or older to do so. but in your seats, there's these connection cards. Put your name on them and put California on them and hand them in afterwards. But here's what you need to know about that. That's going to be happening throughout the whole series. So at the end of the series, you'll have a chance every week to go in the drawing, and then they'll pick some names, and you'll have a chance to win a trip to California because it's fun and it's awesome. And I think that should be a really cool thing, and somebody made it possible for us to do that, so that's kind of cool. That's how you do it. Every week you can put that on your connection cards, toss it in the offering basket, and then we'll have a big pile of those for that. But for whoever wins, I actually have some, and it could be you, so you got to pay attention, right? I have some advice for you. I have some advice, and it starts with this hard truth. Some people are better at living the abundant life than others. It's just true. Some people are. Some people simply get more out of life because they choose to, not because they have more or do more or anything like that. They just choose to. Let me give you an example. In a dining room some 2,000 years ago, this man, his name is Jesus, he walks into this dining room. And around him are his disciples, these guys that he spent day in and day out with. And it just so happens that he walks in with dirty feet. And when he walks in with dirty feet, he realizes that there's nothing to wash them with. And this would, for us, maybe not be a big deal because we're not used to that. We have shoes and whatnot, and we're not getting dirty feet all the time. But in that day, in that culture, you're wearing sandals and walking on roads that have all kinds of terrible things on them because you're not cleaning up the cow dung and all this other stuff that happens on the road, the donkey stuff or the whatever. And so you walk into that place, and he's there, and typically, as custom would have it, there's supposed to be a person there waiting to wash your feet with a basin of water. And so you go in, you'd have your feet washed, and then you go and have dinner because also, like, you kind of lounge when you're eating, and there's not quite so much, like, you might have somebody's feet in your face, that sort of thing. So it's important to have clean feet. So they get in there, and Jesus is there, and for some reason, the disciples must have had this slight oversight, right? There's no place to wash your feet. And so they goes into this room, and there you are, and all the disciples maybe had just had this argument about who's going to do it because there's not any water there, and somebody forgot to do it, and like, I'm not going to do it. And so they're having this bickering session, and finally they're like, whatever, we just won't wash our feet, we'll just go sit down and eat. And Jesus walks in. He takes his towel, and he wraps it around his waist, and he takes this bowl of water, and he kneels down, and he begins to wash feet, one at a time. Jesus, God's Son, washing feet. He goes through each person, and he gets to Peter, and Peter's like, no, don't wash my feet, and if you're going to wash my feet, then you have to at least wash the rest of my body, but Jesus says, like, it's your feet, man, it's your feet. We got to wash your feet. So he washes all of their feet. And at the end, this is what he says. It's in John 13, 12 through 15. After washing their feet, he put on his robe again and sat down and asked, do you understand what I was doing? You call me teacher and Lord, and you are right, because that's what I am. And since I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you ought to wash each other's feet. I have given you an example to follow. Do as I have done to you. Now, in this action of Jesus, there are hours of things that we could talk about, hours of stuff to consider. And that's partially the point. Not only is he demonstrating what he's about to do and making everyone clean that believes and trusts in him, as well as giving the disciples this picture of the types of people that they're supposed to be, people who serve first and aren't trying to lord it over other people, people that do that, people that are about serving each other. But in that moment, he's also showing his disciples and everyone else to follow that it doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter what you're doing or what your plans were. The abundant, the powerful, the fun, the meaningful moments of life, They come because we choose to make them that way. With this simple act, Jesus leaned into an otherwise very awkward situation. He's walking in, he's going to have stinky feet. This isn't right. This isn't the way it should be. There's nobody to wash my feet. And he pulled out of it the moment that I think those disciples will probably never, ever forget. It was seared into their brains. I can't believe Jesus just touched my feet and washed them. That moment is forever seared into their brains, and Jesus did nothing miraculous in that moment. Now, most of the time when you read about Jesus washing feet, you're going to be hearing about Jesus washing away your sins. You're going to be hearing about Jesus, about serving others and the gift that doing that is. And both of those things are incredibly true. They're real. They're really, really important, and we should be talking about those, and we do all the time. But the amazing thing about Jesus is that he does things that help you consider your life in far-reaching ways down to every single corner of your life, every last moment. When Jesus acts, when he does things, he says 100 things at once. And in this action, Jesus is teaching us how to live the everyday moments of our lives too. This is how. A person that follows Jesus is a person who chooses to be present to whatever is happening around them right there in front of them, right there in that moment. An abundant life is found by someone who leans hard into what's happening right in front of them and cherishes it for whatever last bit of worth it has. There's actually this set of verses that I have taped in my office. I feel like they're super important. They're super helpful to me, so I've taped them up in my office where I see them all the time, and this is what it says. It's in Romans 12 through 16. It says, "Rejoice in our confident hope. Be patient in trouble, and keep on praying. When God's people are in need, be ready to help them. Always be eager to practice hospitality. Bless those who persecute you. Don't curse them. Pray that God will bless them. Be happy with those who are happy, and weep with those who weep. Live in harmony with each other. Don't be too proud to enjoy the company of ordinary people, and don't think you know it all." The abundant life can be found anywhere. It can be found in shared laughs. It can be found in shared tears. It can be found in ordinary moments with ordinary people. It can be found in serving someone that needs it. It can be found in going out of your way for someone and being a little bit more humble. There are people who choose to get more out of life. There are people who choose to live an abundant life. You can be one of those people. You don't need anything special to do it. You don't need to buy anything. You don't need to go anywhere, except maybe California. We'll find out. You don't need to find that perfect balance in life. It's just there. It's like right there, waiting to be soaked up right there in front of you. Jesus had this knack for transforming these ordinary moments into some of life's most extraordinary moments, filled with this wonder and this joy and this amazement. You can do that too. You can be filled with joy. You can have the amazement. You can have the wonder about it. We all can wash feet. That's the kind of thing all of us can do. It doesn't need to be feet, but you still might need to put your phone down. Still might need to get off your chair. Might need to get a little dirty, get a little messy. Might even need to make a little bit of a fool of yourself, but be glad you did it. It'll be worth it. I'm convinced that Christians, people that follow Jesus, should be the kindest, most party-loving, most sincere people on the planet, the ones in the moment, the ones living the abundant life no matter what their circumstances are. And we'll mess it up. That's going to happen. I've messed it up plenty. But when we get it right, when we're there, and you know, when you're there, God will give you some of the most amazing memories worth remembering. That's who Jesus was. He made life more full for people, more filled with joy. If you want an abundant life, it starts with knowing Jesus. Then it continues by following him into the every single day moments, the good stuff. This week, I'm going to give you a challenge. I'm going to close with this. The challenge is this. A lot of times, all it takes is like to take a moment and take a deep breath and open your eyes. Like you're surrounded by all the busyness, your phone's dinging, your cooking stuff is going crazy and haywire, and there's people that are talking and all kinds of noise. But if we're willing to take that one single moment and take that breath and be like, okay, what's really worth focusing on right now? What's worth being aware of right now? What moment can I get into like Jesus got into the moments? Where is this abundance of life that Jesus shows us, that it's right there in front of us? It's in these moments that Jesus created, these wonder and amazement that we can be part of. Where is that in our life? How can we bring God's joy into every part of our day? If we take that breath and do that this week a couple of times, I think you'll be amazed. I think God will reward you for being there and being present with memories worth remembering. With that, I'm going to pray to finish, and I'm going to have one simple way of praying, and that's just basically going to be that God would help us open our eyes. And if you want that for yourself, you can pray right along with me. Would you pray with me? Dear God, we thank you so very much that you love us and that you give us models for every part of our life. There's so many different ways that you teach us. Tonight, God, we talked about actually seeing those moments for what they are and digging into them, opening our eyes to them and being part of them and present. Help us, God, this week to actually be that way, to take that breath and to open our eyes and see where you want us and how you want us to be present to it. Pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.